What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your RPM 1870 18 channel mixer. Along with the mixer, you also get the power cable to power your mixer. Now we actually have a few different ways we can set up speakers to the mixer. For example, we can set up passive speakers like these guys here through the speak on outputs on the back. We can also set up passive speakers using the 1/4 inch outputs as well. And on top of the mixer, we have the XLR and 1/4 inch outputs that we can use with active speakers or subwoofers. To set up the passive speakers to the mixer, I'm going to need a couple of speak-on cables. I'm going to take one end of both cables and plug them into the left and right speak-on outputs on the back of the mixer. Then I'm going to plug the other ends into the speak-on inputs on the back of my speakers. Now the speakers we're using today are 8 ohm, and because the mixer is 4 ohm stable, we can actually set up another pair of 8 ohm speakers to these pair of speakers for a total of 4 speakers in our setup. We can do this by daisy chaining our first pair of speakers through the speak-on outputs to the speak-on inputs on the second pair of speakers. You just want to make sure that you're not pairing 2 4 ohm speakers per channel, because that can ruin your speakers and your mixer. When you combine 2 8 ohm speakers per the left and right channel, you get a total impedance of 4 ohms, matching the impedance for each channel on your mixer. And like I mentioned, we can also set up active speakers and mixers using the XLR or 1/4 inch outputs on the top here. As soon as you have your speakers set up to the mixer, you can go ahead and power it on. So if we take a look at the mixer itself, you'll see that we have 18 channels available to use. For channels 1 through 16, we have an XLR mic input that we can use to set up a microphone, and we also have the 1/4 inch line input that we can use to set up line level signals or instruments. So to set up a microphone to the mixer, we're going to take an XLR cable and a microphone. We're going to plug the female end of the cable into our microphone, then we'll plug the other end into the mic input of one of our channels here. For today, we'll use channel 1. Next thing we'll want to do is raise the gain knob for channel 1 about halfway at first. Then on the bottom, we'll want to raise the fader for channel 1. And to make sure everything is coming out of the speakers, we'll raise the main left and right faders here. And now if I talk into my microphone, check 1, 2, you should be able to hear my voice coming out of the speakers. You can also set up a condenser microphone with the mic input, but you just want to be sure to activate the phantom power over here on the other side of the mixer. Now we can also set up an instrument to the same channel as the microphone or a separate channel, so we have more control over the two. So to show you that setup, I'm going to grab my bass here along with my 1/4 inch instrument cable. I'm going to plug one end of my cable into my bass. Then I'm going to plug the other end into the line input on channel 2 for today. Next, we're going to want to raise the gain knob for channel 2 along with the fader here for channel 2. And again, we'll want to make sure that the main left and right faders are raised so we hear everything coming out of the speakers. I can then raise the volume for my bass. And now if I play, you'll hear it coming out of the speakers. So this is a cool setup because I can play my bass and sing into the microphone at the same time, which is a great setup for live performances, band practices, etc. You can also follow the same exact steps to set up anything with a line level output like a keyboard. Underneath the line input, we have the insert so we can set up effects to specific channels. So for example, if I wanted to use a compressor on channel 1, I can take a Y cable and plug the single end into the insert, then plug the other end into the input and output on my compressor, and then I can set the parameters on my compressor and have it affect channel 1 on my mixer. Underneath the insert, we have the gain knob to set the input level for anything coming into that specific channel, like a microphone, line level, or instrument. And if there was anything coming in too hot at first, like a condenser microphone for example, we also have the pad button underneath the gain knob that we can use to lower the signal by 25 dB. Next, we have the EQ section where we can adjust the high, mid, and low frequencies for each channel. To go through them quickly, we have the high knob to adjust the treble frequencies for each channel. So if I lowered it all the way, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you won't hear as much clarity coming out of my mic. If I raise it all the way, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you hear me a lot more clear. And then we set it to the middle, check 1, 2, and we got a nice balance there. We can also use the high mid underneath to control the presence, so I can lower it, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. You won't hear it as present anymore. Then I can raise it up, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Then you get a little more presence coming from the mic. And then I can set it back to the middle, check 1, 2, and then we got a balanced sound there. Next, we have the low mid knob to control the lower frequencies in the mid range. So if I lower it, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you won't hear as much body coming out of the voice. Then we can raise it up, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. You can hear a little more of a boxy sound coming from the voice, and then I can set it to the middle, check 1, 2. So we got a balance. And then lastly, we have the low knob to adjust the low frequencies for the channel. So if I lower it, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you won't hear any bass coming from the mic. Then I can raise it, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. There you hear a lot more bass. And then I can set it to the middle again, check 1, 2. And there we have our balanced sound. Next, we have the send knob, which is used with the send and return over here on our mixer. So we can set up an effect through the send and return and have it affect each of our channels if we want to. So again, using a compressor as the example, I can send the signal from the send here out into the input of my compressor. Then from the output of the compressor, I would go back into the return. And now this way, we're sending signal from the mixer out to the compressor and then back to the mixer again. And now I can use the send knob on each channel to pick which channel I want to be affected by the compressor. So now from here, I can raise the main send knob to send the signal out from my mixer into the compressor. And then I can raise the return knob to have that signal coming back to the mixer. Then from there, I can use the send knob for any channel I want to be affected by my mixer. Underneath, we have the effects knob to use the built-in effects for the mixer. And we have a ton of effects to choose from by using the effects processor here on top. So with the effects processor, we have the preset select knob here, so we can choose between the different reverbs or delays and other effects available. Next, we have the parameter 1 and the parameter 2 knob that will adjust the effect depending on which effect we're using. We have the effects knob here to set the overall effects level throughout the mixer. Then we have the effects fader here so we can hear the effect through the speakers. So to show you the effects in action, I'm going to set the preset selector to preset 8 for the delay and reverb setting. In this preset, I can use parameter 1 to set the delay time and parameter 2 to set up the reverb time. Now to send my mic channel to the effects, I'm going to raise the effects knob here. And then again, I want to raise the effects fader here at the bottom. And now if I talk into my microphone, and now you should be able to hear the effect on my microphone. Underneath the preset select, we also have the FX mute, so we can turn the effects off just like that. Below the effects knob, we have the pan knob to send the signal either to the left channel of our mix or the right channel of our mix. So for example, if I set the pan knob to the left, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you'll be hearing the voice coming out of the left speaker. And if I set it to the right, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you'll hear my voice coming out of the right speaker. And if we set it back to the middle, check 1, 2, you'll hear my voice coming out of both speakers. Next, we have the mute button to mute the channel altogether. So for example, I'm chatting into my mic right now, check 1, 2, and then I can press the mute button to cut off the channel overall. Next to the fader, we have the solo button to hear specific channels. So for example, if I had microphones plugged into channels 1, 2, and 3, and only wanted to hear the microphone from channel 1, I can press the solo button on channel 1 and hear that microphone only. And lastly, we have the fader to set the overall level for our channel. So if I lower it, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you won't be able to hear my microphone at all. And if I raise it, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you'll be able to hear it. Now these channels are the same from channels 1 to 16, and then we have separate channels for MP3 or Bluetooth devices with channels 17 and 18. So whenever you have your USB, RCA, or Bluetooth device connected to the mixer, you'll want to use the fader for channels 17 and 18 to raise the volume, and you can even fine-tune the sound of these channels by using the 2-band EQ here. We can also affect the overall mix for the left and right channel using the 7-band EQs here. So for example, if you felt like the left channel of your speakers were lacking low end, you can use the low end frequencies for the left channel only. Or if you felt like the right channel of speakers was lacking high end, you can raise the high end for the right channel only. There's also the EQ kill button to bypass the EQ to compare and contrast. Above, we have the RCA input to connect any music playback buttons with an RCA output. Again, you can use channels 17 and 18 to raise the volume for that. And then next to that, we have the RCA record output, so everything coming from the mixer can be sent out to be recorded by an interface with an RCA input. Below that we have the FX switch, so we can set up a device to turn on the effects for the mixer. And then we also have a headphone input, so we can connect a pair of headphones to hear everything coming from the mixer through our headphones. We can use this phone knobs here to affect the volume coming out of our headphones. So like I mentioned, we have plenty of ways to play music through the mixer, including the RCA input, the USB input, and the Bluetooth compatibility to pair any smartphone or tablet. To switch between these different sources, you can press this mode button here. Then you can use the previous and next buttons to cycle between these different modes. And once you land on the mode that you want to use, you can press the play button to set it to that source. So to set the mixer to Bluetooth mode, we're going to press the mode button. Then we can use the previous and next buttons to cycle to the Bluetooth mode, and then press play to set the mixer to the Bluetooth mode. From there, we can take a smartphone or tablet and go into the Bluetooth settings, search for the device that reads RPM 1870, and click on it to pair. Again, to hear everything coming from our Bluetooth device, we're going to want to raise the fader for channels 17 and 18. We'll also want to make sure the main left and right faders are up so we hear everything coming out of the speakers. So let's hear how it sounds. Nice. That sounds really good. Now you can also use the mixer with your karaoke setup, since you can connect a smartphone or tablet for your music and lyrics and connect multiple microphones to have everyone start singing along. So to set up the microphone, we're going to take our XLR cable and mic here. We're going to plug the female end into the mic, then plug the other end into any available channels on our mixer. For today, let's use channel 1. Then we're going to want to raise the gain knob and the fader for channel 1. And then we can raise the main left and right faders to hear our mic through the speakers. If you want to set up even more microphones, you're just going to follow these same exact steps using any other channels on the mixer. Don't forget also we have the effects processor to give our voice some extra flair. So for today, I'm going to use preset 8 to give my voice the delay and reverb effect. I can also use parameters 1 and 2 to affect the delay and reverb time. Then to use the effect with my microphone, I'm going to raise the effects knob on channel 1. Make sure the main effects knob is turned up as well. And then we'll want to raise the effects fader on the bottom of our mixer. And now you should be able to hear the effect on my voice. Now to set up our Bluetooth device to the mixer, I'm going to set my mixer to Bluetooth mode using the mode button here. After that, I'm going to use the previous and next buttons to cycle over to the Bluetooth mode and press the play button to set the mixer to Bluetooth mode. Next, I'm going to want to go into the Bluetooth settings of my smartphone or tablet, search for the device that reads RPM 1870, and click on it to pair. I'm also going to want to raise channels 17 and 18 so I can hear the Bluetooth device through the mixer. So after that, I can go to my Bluetooth device and go into the YouTube app to search for any karaoke version of a song. This way I can read along with the lyrics coming up on my tablet, grab a mic, and start singing along to the music. Hey now, you're an all-star, get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star, get the show on, get paid. All that glitters is gold, only shooting stars break the mold, yeah! Now we can expand our setup even further with additional powered subwoofers or speakers. To show you how that works, I'm going to connect my subwoofer here that we have on the floor. So for this setup today, I'm going to use an XLR cable, but you can also use a 1/4-inch cable if your subwoofer has a 1/4-inch input, because we have the 1/4-inch outputs on the mixer. So for setting up a single subwoofer, I'm going to take one end and plug it into the left output on my mixer. Then I'm going to take the other end and plug it into the left input on my sub. So again, these are just the steps if you want to set up one subwoofer to your setup, but you can also add another subwoofer by using the right XLR input and plugging into the left input on the second sub. So now I can turn on the subwoofer and set the crossover and volume how I want. I'm also going to want to raise the main left and right faders so we can hear everything coming out of the speakers and the subwoofer. Then from there we can set up any microphones, instruments, or music playback like my Bluetooth device here and have it all coming out of our speakers and sub. So let's go ahead and hear how it all sounds. Oh yeah, sounds great with the sub. It's awesome. Now remember, we can follow these same exact steps if we wanted to set up active speakers instead of subwoofers. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your RPM 1870 18-channel mixer. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.